What's up, everybody? Welcome to the new Awesemo Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. My name is Matt Gajewski, and we will be bringing you all kinds of content over the summer with our team of analysts. If you're tired of the industry consensus and groupthink, make sure to try our data-driven approach. Before we get started, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned to the Awesemo channel for more fantasy football content, live video breakdowns, live best ball drafts, mock drafts, and much more. In this particular series, I will be going through all of the top fantasy football players, projections, their draft slots, and recommendations ahead of the 2021 NFL season. And as you can tell today, we are continuing the series with Minnesota Viking Dalvin Cook. He is now entering his 5th season in the NFL, still 26 years old, but let's take a look at what Dalvin Cook has done through his career to this point. He is 5'10", 210 pounds, and he is coming off the best season of his career. He had over 300 carries, he amassed 1,557 yards and 16 scores on the ground, and as a receiver, very effective in this department as well. 54 targets, he turned that into 44 receptions, 361 yards, and an additional score. This is all while playing 14 games. He did miss one game last year. Very good from an efficiency perspective as well. Over 1,000 of his yards came after contact, and we have 68 forced missed tackles. Very, very efficient rusher as well. We do have a little bit of an injury concern with Dalvin Cook, not just last year, but going back to 2019, he missed 2 games with a shoulder sprain. 2018, missed 5 games with a hamstring strain, and the ACL tear as a rookie. But Dalvin Cook last year held up for the most part, and we look to his opportunity next. Dalvin Cook is right up there at the top of the NFL as far as just opportunities amassed per game. From a snap share perspective, about 70%. They'll use Alexander Madison a little bit. They'll use Amir Abdullah, but some of this can be skewed a little bit by fullback CJ Ham. As far as raw opportunities per game, that is targets plus carries. We have 26.1. That is near the top of the NFL. Christian McCaffrey was just shy of 27 in the 2019 season, where he racked up the second best fantasy football season by a running back ever. So 26.1 carries, he is right behind Christian McCaffrey. That means even though he doesn't have that 100% snap share, when he's on the field, Minnesota is choosing to use him. Now, this opportunity extends through the run game, through the pass game. As far as opportunities shared, those 26.1 opportunities were 73.5%, nearly 80% of the carries, and he did have a 13% target share on Minnesota as a whole. And if you look at just running backs overall and their target shares, his 13.1% target share was 10th best among running backs with at least 25 targets. Looking at the red zone, his opportunity extends here as well. 70% of the red zone carries. He had 58 overall red zone attempts. That was second in the NFL in the 2020 season. So Dalvin Cook's being used everywhere, and while his raw snap counts may not be as high as a player like McCaffrey or even somebody like a healthy Saquon Barkley, when he's on the field, he is receiving these opportunities. A lot of that is because of the way Minnesota plays. Looking at their team overall, their pass rate was 54%. Now, that was 27th in the NFL last year, so you can already tell a lot of additional rushing opportunities coming for Cook, and he amassed over 300 of them last year. Plays per game, Minnesota's just below average, 63.9. That was 19th last year. Points per game, they were very efficient in this department, 26.9. That was all the way up at 11th, reflected in those red zone opportunities Dalvin Cook received. Looking forward to this year, Minnesota does have the 17th easiest schedule. They're projected for 8.5 wins right now. Last year, for reference, they went 7-9. So Dalvin Cook amassed that massive fantasy season with a losing record. Minnesota was still dedicated to the run. This year, this win total you see on the screen, 8.5, could swing wildly depending on the status of Aaron Rodgers within the division. Of course, Minnesota will have 2 games against the Packers, so something to watch. But as far as the Vikings moving forward, not too much has changed with the offense. They moved to Clint Kubiak in replacement of Gary Kubiak as offensive coordinator. We know that Mike Zimmer and the Kubiaks like to run the ball, and that should be very much the case this year. In the backfield, they did lose Mike Boone to free agency, They did not really replace him. They took a running back on day 3 who's more of a special teamer that we get to. So it's looking like it's Dalvin Cook, it's Alexander Mattison in the same timeshare we saw last year, which is predominantly Dalvin Cook. Now, on the offensive line, they did draft Christian Darrisaw in the first round. They take Wyatt Davis in the 3rd round, and they trade for Mason Cole. So this is a team who has struggled on the offensive line in recent seasons, and they're now making additional investments in that area of the field, which should bode well for their run game. Now, as far as fantasy football goes, Dalvin Cook can basically be considered the 102 at this point. He doesn't have quite the workload as a receiver as Christian McCaffrey. He hasn't played quite as many snaps. So there is a bit of a divide there. But once you get to the 102 and you're looking at Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Alvin Kamara, the latter backs have more concerns than Cook, whether it's snaps or pass game role or injury in the case of Barkley. Dalvin Cook doesn't have any of those concerns. He plays on all 3 downs. He handles an immense workload, and he hasn't lost an entire season since his rookie year with the ACL. He's been relatively healthy in that span. He's shown the ability to handle a massive workload. Minnesota is continuing to invest in the run game, evidenced by their investments in the offensive line. And again, the only additional running back they brought in was Kene Nwangu, who was a timeshare back at Iowa State, mainly just a special teamer. So the investments in Dalvin Cook are there. As far as the coaching staff, you have Kubiak, you have Zimmer very invested in the run as well. And the bottom line is Dalvin Cook, he's the clear 102 in fantasy football right now. If he was slightly better as a receiver, and maybe that's not the right word, maybe if he just had a more voluminous role, he would be in contention for the 101 behind McCaffrey, but it's just not there on the run-heavy Minnesota Vikings. So right now, he is settled in clearly as the 102 in fantasy football. But that will do it for us at Awesemo.com. I'm Matt Gajewski on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Next up, we are going to cover Alvin Kamara, followed by a number of other premium names in fantasy football. Remember to watch that, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and check back every day for more content. We will catch you next time.